Thank you for saving me.
Is that not something that would be?
Yeah, we're doing that group show for Emily.
Yeah.
I'll
charge you guys.
I sent it out to everybody.
Okay. It's already out there.
Yeah, it's been sent. I only got 2 responses, so.
I also made it.
I just want to make sure
then honestly,
they get to it.
that
Send it back to me.
Oh, okay. All right. It's not a
It probably won't be anything we actually vote on or go after.
Yeah, okay. It's just it's the beginning of the process.
Emily did just as printing.
You know how the process is.
Yeah, I think printing and mounting, I don't think she does any magic.
On the projector.
I just, I did something
Maybe that's the.
a while back that was spoiled the air. I made a print that was a large print to start with, and then I put a 4-inch cotton rag mat, 22 by 28, which means you can only get 2 pieces out of the board. And that board is about
I may have to bring
$4.
them every time I come in.
So, and then the frame was 22 by 28 is big enough, and then if you got a piece of museum glass, Blick's price for a sheet of museum glass that size is $120.
Not that I'm counting.
So it cost me $200.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call the meeting to order. Welcome guests, employees, visitors, public. Yeah, you got a bell back here. I can't see anybody from this angle. And Beverly, if you would take the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Chairman O'Halloran.
Here.
Mr. Enster.
Hello.
Mr. Ellis.
Yeah.
Mr. French.
Hi, everybody.
Mr. Durant.
Here.
Miss Odell. Mr. Jones. Mr. Lakakis.
Yeah.
Mr. Cody. Thank you.
All right, moving now to the approval of the minutes from the meeting from May. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Unreadiness. All those in favor? Any discussion, sorry.
Yeah, unreadiness. And before we approve these minutes, I need to get some stuff straight about what we're doing.
Okay.
In these minutes, we voted to, at our last meeting, we voted to move Mike up to interim CEO.
Yes.
Okay. With that, we didn't do anything organizationally to restructure the organization of this.
That's here today, actually.
I see what you got today, but I'm talking about last month's meeting and the minutes from last month. We didn't do anything about taking any of the authority that the interim CEO would have as acting CEO and move it to anybody else. That's not in these minutes. But when I went to my committee meeting and I asked a question that only concerns and the answer should come only from the CEO, other folks tried to give me answers, which means that's not their problem. Well, let me put it bluntly.
That's what I'm asking for.
All right. I want to talk about that phone call that went on after we left here, that private phone call with Curtis and others, where they changed structures before this board even heard about any change in structure and gave duties and responsibilities to folks that didn't come before this board. Now,
I don't know what.
I know you don't.
Okay.
But I know.
Clueless.
I know that the conference call happened, and I know they changed duties and responsibilities in that meeting and moved folks around before it even came before this board. So, and I'm saying in these minutes, before we approve them, we approve Mike. We appointed Mike as interim CEO. Right? All right. So now, when we adopt these minutes, anything that happened during that conference call after the meeting after the meeting, is null and void, and some people need to know that because they're trying to exercise authority that they don't have.
Yeah, but that's not something we do. The corporate structure is under the corporate structure. That's not a board decision.
And listen, the organizational structure, am I right, Ty, is under the board.
No, the organizational structure is under the CEO. The board has purview over the CEO.
Right.
But the CEO has purview over everything else with regard to employment and personnel.
Now, you and I are saying the same thing, okay?
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm not talking about personnel, but what I'm talking about is the structure that was in place until the conference call after our last meeting.
Well, I don't
That
know
changed some things. I know you don't know because you weren't at the
I
meeting.
don't know anything about
When I got to committee meeting, some folks were trying to tell me stuff that they had no business telling me because it doesn't come under them. I wanted to know, in what meeting did we dilute the interim CEO's authority? Because other folks were trying to take that authority on, and I know it's not in these minutes.
Well,
See,
it couldn't
so
be because there was no
That's
recorded.
okay. Now I wanted that to be on the record that there was no, all right, so that people will know in the organizational structure that that stuff that went on with the conference call is null and void. That's my objection, and that's my point of unreadiness before we adopt the minutes. I wanted that to make sure that go on the record.
That
That's
would
what
be
I
on
just
this
said.
month's minutes.
That'll be in this month's minute.
Well, you
what I
can put
just
it on
said.
this month's, yes, but that doesn't affect last month.
That's why. That's why before we approve, I want to make sure what we approving is what we did last month, and not in the conference call after the meeting.
I think
All
that
we
goes
did
without
was-
saying.
Oh, okay, that goes without saying.
Yeah, whatever-
That's the law.
We promoted
Well,
Mike
whatever
to interim
took
CEO.
place at that meeting is what you're approving, if the minutes are correct.
Thank you. That's what I want to make sure.
Yeah, what
because
we
some
had
people
today
need
is
some
different.
straightening out in here.
But to go one step further, the only person who would declare a change in the organizational structure below the CEO level as null and void would be the CEO, not
Right.
the board.
Right. But I want him to know. That's why I'm saying in public. I want him to know that he cannot let anybody in here dilute the authority that this board gives him as CEO because he's our only employee.
Well, that's correct, although
Okay.
he has the authority to delegate.
I'm not talking about his authority to delegate. I'm talking about others' authority to take his delegation power from him.
Well, you're right. They would
Okay,
not
thank
have
you.
the unilateral authority
Thank you.
to take powers from or authority from the CEO. That would be up to the CEO.
Well, those who on that conference call know who I'm talking to.
Can you give us more information on
No,
All right.
that's for executive session. That's
Okay.
personnel.
That's, yep.
That's exciting.
Now, if we go in executive session, I'll spell out exactly what I'm saying.
That's fine. That's why.
Oh, okay,
that's
because
why
I'll
it's in
call
there.
names in executive session.
That's why it's
That's
in there.
personnel.
Yep.
Okay.
So any other discussion on the minutes?
As always, great minutes.
Most of it. Some of our language is probably not what we actually said, but we'll take it as face value. All those in favor of
Nothing
approving the
fundamentally
minutes?
incorrect.
Yeah, totally incorrect.
It worked for me.
No opposed, unanimous? All right, moving on to, where am I? Oh, I got a different, why do I have a different one on here? To presentations with Miss Wood from Scenic Chatham. Welcome.
And my co-chair?
You have the floor.
Scenic Chatham.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Scenic Chatham.
They said use the podium. So I'll
Certainly.
make use of
You even brought a picture.
it. Mhm.
You even have a picture with you.
That's right, we called that up, so.
That's scenic, right?
You have
I
a
pulled it
picture.
up on my home one too.
You have a picture from Oregon for Scenic Chatham, Ardith, surely.
Don't you recognize typing?
This is a rough crowd, you have to get used to
Yeah,
it.
Scenic Chatham.
My co-chair,
Nick Palumbo here. Hey there.
Oh, I knew that you looked
Ardith
familiar.
forgot his name, Ardith?
I thought we'd ought to hear his voice. He is, yes. The Scenic Chatham is an all-volunteer organization made up of community leaders from throughout Chatham County. Beautification experts, garden club leaders, landscape architects, urban designers, and citizen advocates. Our mission is to preserve and enhance the natural and built environment. That's it. We are one of over 50 affiliates of Scenic America, a national nonprofit formed as an outgrowth of Lady Bird Johnson's beautification work in the 1960s. What else did I have in here? There it is. Just as a preface, I want to point out, and this is sort of something to talk about in the future, but a thank you, not a formal certificate, for preserving these lollipop signs. That is Savannah. This is Any Place USA. And I guess it's a place for this, but especially in our historic districts. Thank you for letting this continue. I know they're popular, the tops get cut off and so on, but let us know how we can help to keep those alive. Now, we want to mention formally a great big thank you. And here is the certificate of appreciation, which tells us that. Whereas the Chatham Area Transit Authority has removed exterior advertising from its bus fleet, and whereas it always keeps its bus shelters free of advertising in public spaces, Scenic Chatham, an affiliate of Scenic America, which seeks to maintain and improve the visual environment of the United States, does hereby bestow on said transit authority its sincere appreciation, signed by co-chairs Artis Wood and Nick Palumbo. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm going to give that to you to pass around, and Nick is going to pass around these also for everyone. And this would be for the chair because it's all laminated.
Thank you.
It makes a difference. All the little things and not so little things add up. Thank you, Michael.
Why don't y'all hang on a second and let her get a photo of all of you with the certificate.
Okay.
Should specifically thank Alderman Lorenz for keeping the lollipops intact.
Thank you.
It is a very passionate,
Lollipops.
the bus stop signs.
Oh,
Get the, yeah, long problem.
You know what, I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah.
I think that'll work better. I can lean on the podium.
wait. Artist, you've got timestamp across your cheek.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Step off.
Oh, here, we're gonna step forward just a little bit.
We're in the frame.
Very good, Bill.
You've times.
Actually, why don't you guys stand over here?
Right.
Don't make sure you
Look,
get
Mike,
I know.
in the back of his
I
neck.
almost had it
Very
blocked,
good.
but
Would have had
You
a
were
photo
dated.
that.
I don't see
it
time.
was in the bottom.
10, 12 a.m. down at the bottom, right across your cheek.
Time marches on.
Perfect, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure seeing you both.
Thank
Nice
you.
talking to
Thank you.
Come through your wall, Michael.
Bye, Artie.
Alrighty. That was a nice little break in our regular schedule. All right, let's move on to action items. Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is to obtain approval from the board to dispose of 4 fixed route vehicles and 7 paratransit vehicles. And just to set the record straight, at committee, I said that they were all para vehicles, but there's actually 4 fixed and 7 para. The fixed routes are the Cub vehicles that were used for the whole Liberty Shuttle and dock service. So that's the clarification there. So currently CAT has 11 vehicles that have exceeded their FDA and DOT recommended useful life. The fixed route vehicles have exceeded their useful lives in years and miles in accordance with the FTA standards of 4 years and 100,000 miles. The paratransit vehicles have exceeded their 4-year useful life and are over the 100,000 mile mark. All assets covered under this request are fully depreciated and have a book value of 0. Consistent with FTA guidelines, staff will dispose of these assets through either auctioning to the highest bidder, disposal through donation to any nonprofit interested in the use of these assets, or dispose of scrap to a dealer of scrap metal. And a list of the vehicles are attached to the report.
You certainly got your money's worth out of these.
Yeah, some of them for sure. Do I hear a motion that we dispose of these
So
11
moved.
vehicles? Second?
Second.
All those in, questions? Good morning, Tim. You want a minute to catch up?
No.
Okay.
Do we know where they are going to go? Do you have any idea? Will they be dismantled or exploded or will we have the catch to be donated?
Most of these have been scavenged, so they'll end up going to the scrap metal.
Cool. That's that. Looks good. All right. I'm good.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Other discussion, Bill?
No, I was voting.
No, okay. All those in favor of the disposal of the buses? Opposed? Abstained? It's approved unanimously. All right, item 2, bus shelters.
To request board approval for the purchase of 10 bus shelter equipment system from Polar Manufacturing. CAT will purchase shelters, benches, and trash receptacles to install 10 shelters as part of our ongoing passengers amenity program. Price quotes for the purchase were received from 3 vendors: Global Industrial, Polar Manufacturing, and Brasco International. Polar Manufacturing provided the lowest price for the bus shelter systems. Each system includes a dome shelter, solar lighting, a bench, and trash receptacle. The attached flyer from Solar contains the visual representation and provides additional information on their product.
Do you know which one we're getting on these diagrams? Is there one specific? This is about 10 here. I see a couple with ads, so I know that's not that.
If we lose our award, it would be
Barrel style right there.
Right here.
Which one?
One on the left, right?
Yeah, right to the left. It's
Oh, okay.
It'll have a back and sides.
And without the advertisement.
Without that.
Okay.
See,
Well, that looks
it will
nice.
have a back. Yes, they will have a back.
The netting like the ones out.
And it'll have a full bench, right, Steve? No, this one just shows like 2 chairs.
You'll have a 6-foot bench. The shelter itself is 10 foot, and that leaves you enough room for a wheelchair.
Wheelchair. 42 inches. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the purchase of the bus shelters?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion on the bus shelter? Mr. Ellis?
We know locations.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is we're looking at Route 14, Route 17, Route 27 and 28, high ridership of boardings, current stops that do not have shelters. So we don't have the exact locations now, but it'll be on those routes most likely.
But even in looking at those particular routes with high traffic, don't we have to have ownership of the property where we put that? We can't put it on the land if we don't own the property, or if the municipalities don't agree to allow us to put them there. Am I correct?
Yes, the owner would have to give permission for the shelter to be placed there.
But shouldn't that even if the owner gives you permission, they should give that to or deed it to CAT or some kind of so that
It would be a license agreement.
Yeah, so they own the
allow
property.
CAT to place it there indefinitely with no definite term.
You don't want a cat to own a whole bunch of 500-foot little pieces of
No,
property.
no. Ownership might be the wrong word, but we can't put it there unless it's the property is under our jurisdiction, right?
Well, the owner would have to give permission
Right.
through a license agreement, licensing CAT to place the shelter there.
Shelter there.
Yes.
So when we're looking at those places, shouldn't we get a list of where we're gonna put what before we decide that we're going to spend a bunch of money and get stuff and then not know where they're going?
Well, we know there's a need, and we will compile a list of the stops that have the greatest need. But we know there's a need. It's not like we're spending money and we don't know where we're going to put them. We know we're going to put them on routes. We just haven't designated the exact locations. We can certainly put a list together.
Yeah, you'll give us a list of where
Sure.
they're going when you have it.
Yeah, plus we need to work out the agreement.
Well, that's a matter of a form license agreement.
Right.
But I would think the procedure, I don't know, I would think the procedure would be to identify the spots that need it the most, and then request the permission of the owner of those spots. And if they say no, then you go to the next one.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's always been relatively easy for us to license, because most of the properties we deal with is city and county anyway. And most property owners that we deal with, license is pretty easy. It's never been real difficult for us to get the license.
Oh, we will get them. We don't want someone taking it down like they did in Pooler.
Right.
Not at $3 grand apiece or $6 grand apiece. Go ahead, Bill.
And I'm assuming our need is probably a lot greater than just 10.
Yes.
So getting 10 still doesn't even get us near where we need to be eventually.
No,
Right.
this was a long-term goal
Yeah.
of replacing quite a few over time.
And obviously, your list needs to be prioritized based on need, more than anything else. But assuming all other things being equal, one of the things that we want to look for, if it's an option, is if any of the locations you've selected have any other work being done by the city. That's, I mean, if it's between two locations that otherwise are equal choices, that I think is the one to go with, because that work that the city's doing for other reasons could be used as the matching funds for the purchase. So,
Like on waters where they're doing all that
right,
construction.
so yeah, anything on water, right there, you've already got your matching money because of the work we've done.
And that is one of the routes, the 28 and 27. And do we have a full list of everything that's out there? Okay. I thought we did. I remember hearing about it. Good morning.
Hey.
I'm not in black today.
Jet lag.
No.
I wore my green.
Chatham Area Transit lag.
Made you late.
We're going to be voting on the purchase of the shelters today, just to catch up where we are.
All right.
You have any questions before we go any further? I know you were looking into some of this already. It's a purchase of 10.
10 buses?
10 shelters.
Shelters.
Before we go to detail, what happened to the shelter on Largo and Abercorn?
Which one?
Largo and Abercorn.
The one by the old Mitchell's Auto?
Yeah.
That was only a pole. That's all I've ever
No,
seen.
that was, I mean, Mike, I've been here all my life.
It's only been that since I've been here, and that's been like 3
It
years.
used to be a shelter.
Oh, okay. It's a
Most
pretty
of
hot
that
spot
stuff-
there because there's no trees even.
Yeah, I burned my tail off out there. I was out there about 20 minutes. That's fine. I'm all. I ain't got no. I read through the agenda. That's fine. I ain't got no issues with the shelter.
Okay. All in favor of the purchase of the shelters? Raise your hands. Opposed, abstained, no? All in favor? On-call staffing contract award.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to request the board approval to approve the award of on-call temporary staffing contract to complete to corporate temps. Temporary staffing services are needed throughout the agency from time to time to serve as manpower resource, ensuring uninterrupted services for various departments and fulfilling vacancies, unplanned leaves of absence, and various project commitments. CAT currently utilizes the services of temporary staffing agency. However, following the required small purchase procedures each time temporary staffing is needed is cumbersome and inefficient. CAT is interested in securing the services of several qualified staffing agencies in order to make the process of filling temporary staffing needs more efficient while still choosing the best firm to meet CAT's business needs.
And there is a review of all the companies, so it's focused in on one basically at this point.
Correct.
Okay. I forgot the name of it already.
Corporate temps.
Corporate temps, thank you. Done. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the on-call staffing contract award?
Move to approve.
Second? Do I have a second? Any discussion? Chester?
Layman term, Explain to me exactly what these temps do.
They fill, when we have a shortage, when we have an opening, a vacant spot, or we have someone going on leave, they will fill as a temporary need.
Give me,
So we have
give me an
unreserved-
example of what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but give me an example of what you're saying.
Well, when we, in the call center, we had to get a couple of temporary call center advocates because we had a couple of people leave. One got promoted, one person left. So while we were recruiting to hire replacements, we needed to have temporary help. We've also used temporary help as the cash room and in the lobby at the receptionist.
The cash room?
Where they count the money.
Yeah.
Comes in on
That's why I've got that. That's why I've got that puzzle on my face.
That's a long-term temporary assignment with contract labor. We do have one part-time manager and then 2 long-term temporary contract laborers that countermanage. Vetted for that extra security.
In what all areas do we use temps?
If this is approved, what areas would this be filed for?
It would be in the call center. It would be in, let's see, we have that in the cash room, the receptionist, maintenance.
There's some extra needs in maintenance. We, in the past, have used Trace, and now this will pull it under one. So every time we need somebody, we don't have to go out to the market and fill out the paperwork for 3 quotes. Trying to contract with continuing vendors to be more efficient when we procure it properly for the FTA regs. So maintenance, finance, mobility services, and the front desk clerk.
Cash room. Go ahead, Chad.
I'm Chester.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chester.
Oh, no. Just some areas you're mentioning that I'm not comfortable with temps. Because, especially when you're talking about finance, folks need to be vetted and screened and so forth. And I mean, I don't know that you get that kind of quality from coming from temps.
We add that when we hire somebody for the cashier's room. We add the extra security, the extra vetting, and the extra bonding through the third-party administrator. And this cash room is secured, locked, and videotaped with an employee overseeing the temporary staff people. And it's not like they come for a week and then they leave. These are more like permanent, long-term, temporary laborers.
So why don't we have them as a part of the permanent staff?
When we did that, 3 months after we hired them, they both quit. There's a lot of in and out in that room.
Yeah, it's not a fun job. I've counted.
It's 5 hours of counting dollar bills in a cinder block room. So over the last 8 years, the more consistent way to get that job done, because you have to have 2 people in there at all times, is to use this temporary labor pool for the county.
And we've done this for how long?
Forever. Decades.
You're still shaking your head, Chester. What can we do?
Move on.
Yeah, call the question.
Okay.
Move on.
I'm sorry, I thought you had more of your question.
No,
I'm not
move
sure
on.
yet.
My only issue
I'm still
dealing with,
honest.
my only 2 issues I got dealing with temporary employees. Number 1, temporary employees are not employees. And what tends to happen is temporary employees become employees but not being employees. And what ends up happening is they can't participate in retirement, they can't participate in anything dealing with what we have. And so a time limit on how long they are before we actually hire them into a permanent status, if they did pass that time period, will be something I would really want to stress as far as the conversation piece in here. Number 2, I heard you say that people, I've never heard nobody say they were tired of counting cash, maybe because it's not their cash, they tired
Oh,
of counting.
yeah, it's not your cash.
And that's just a joke. That's not to be, you know.
Right, well, it's dirty.
It's
And
dirty,
it's
and
hot.
it's hot,
And it's
yeah.
monotonous, and it's hard to keep somebody down there year after year after year.
Y'all got air conditioning down there? It's cinder blocks. Maybe we got maybe it's air conditioning down there, anything like that. I'm just trying to find
I
a
counted
reason
money.
why
It's
somebody
a
would-
disgusting process. It really is.
But I really, it's an issue that I know a few county employees we have. They worked for 4 or 5 years as a temporary employee, and then they eventually got hired on as a permanent employee. But then they didn't get the benefit of those 4 or 5 years they were a temporary employee. And I don't want to be in that belaboring mind frame of having somebody in temporary status, and we don't give them an opportunity to be promoted into a permanent status, so we don't have that hangover on our head. Now, I also agree with hiring somebody as a temporary to see if they're going to work out.
We've
Right.
hired several people in different departments from temporary work as a cashier or in mobility services, and we do look to hire permanently when we can. With the cash room, there was a cost benefit, and it cost more to bring them in, and then when we did that, they exited. So we've just always managed those 2 temporary positions.
And did we discuss this in our committee meeting?
We talked about this action item, but there wasn't this much discussion or
Okay.
question.
Yeah, the other piece would be, I would really like to see what positions you actually would be referring to as far as temporary is concerned. I mean, I hear those 3 positions, and I'm cool with those 3 positions, but within the whole structure of our organization, I would really like to know, is this something for all employees, and I know minus operators and all that stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
It's normal course of business to fill attrition vacancies. So in mobility services, if somebody resigns, we have to put somebody on the phone. We won't know until they resign that we need to put somebody on the phone. In maintenance, there's some projects that require extra labor that are outside of the maintenance union contract. We hired Trace to do those special projects, moving from one office to another. In finance, it's the cash room. So those are the 3 places we consistently use temporary labor. In the past, every time we've done it, our procurement and maintenance purchasing staff have gone out and gotten the 3 quotes, filled out the paperwork, and chosen the best vendor. We're just trying to do it all under one umbrella to make the process more efficient.
But this will open it up for all positions.
No,
To be
this
able to
is
staff.
this
Oh,
is
I'm just asking.
Only for the ones that we're using
as
temporary
needed.
now.
As needed.
So
for-
what are those? So once again, once this vote is, I would like to see a list of the positions we're talking about, so we can keep an idea of what is temporary, what can be used temporary, what can't be used temporary.
We can add that
All right.
to the informational reports in the previous month, what vacant temporary labor, what vacancies temporary labor.
What I mean by that
Go to
is
order.
any
Right.
position that we are going to classify as a position that can be staffed with a temporary person. I would like to know what those positions are in the order. It don't have to be at this moment, but I would like to know if this is voted on and approved, what those positions are. Because I just don't want us to be, because this can be convoluted into a whole different discussion, and we can start picking off different positions and start saying that we can put temporary people in those positions as well. And so that's why I'm trying to get a static list of those positions that actually fit into this criteria.
Okay, well, it's basically based on need, so I guess we.
I just wanted it right, that's all.
Okay.
It's different between discussion and putting it in writing.
But this, all we're really doing here is, instead of having to do this every time we hire
Oh,
someone.
I get that.
It
But
just
I just
narrows
want
it
to see
down
it
to
in
one
writing,
vendor.
that's it.
Okay. Pete, I know you had your hand up a while ago, so
Yeah.
I'll go to you, and then I've got
How much
Tabitha and then Clint.
money do we have right now to purchase other of the shelters?
So, do you
We
want
had,
me to
we
go?
had enough to buy 10 right now.
So
in the budget.
well, we have more grant money than that that's earmarked for passenger news. In our current capital 5307, we have about 174,000. We're using part of that to order these equipment sets, with the remainder for future
Is T out there?
shelter purchases. So we have about 174,000 in the current year 5307 capital grant.
And they're only talking about using 67,000 of over 100,000.
At the moment.
Right now, this is.
We still got
it's
it.
a
How much does, has it gone up any, the shelters that have the overhang on it to help people from getting, wet from rain?
So those, Mr. Lukakis, those are the ones we're gonna purchase, and that's the way we usually set our purchase. They haven't gone up in price much over the past 5 or 6 years. They're still right at.
Still steady.
Yeah.
Who is assigned right now to go and check to see how many people are waiting on the buses to come, and do we have some information that can show how many more that we are going to get, because somebody from CAT should have the authority of, basically, if it's not the authority, but just go down on each route and see how many people are standing there, and bring that information back to us, because I know that a number of our board members and people out in the public, have seen a number of people, and I know where there are a few stops that I see a whole family, might be 5, 6, or 7 people waiting at a bus stop, and there's no shelter there whatsoever. And then if it's been stated that we're going to have rain, just put that together so that we can have more shelters and that availability, and especially when you see so many people standing up at the bus stops and no shelter there.
That information comes through the ticketing booth, so it'll tell us actually how many people get on each stop, and that's how the list is generated as to the need for shelters. Plus, we have to be able to put one there. Some spots you can't put one.
What ticketing booth?
Well, we have APC data is what we get the numbers.
That tells you how many people get on at each stop.
Yeah. So we have that.
So we have a list for it. They're going to give us a list of where they're going when they're ready.
Entertain the competition.
Okay? Sound good? You happy?
I got it.
All righty, sir. Tabitha? We're back to temporary.
We're back to temporary.
I think it's an excellent idea to designate a specific staffing company for temporary staffing. I've often done that, so I don't have a problem with it. But I would like to know a couple of things, and I know that hasn't the law changed, like within the last 18 months, on how long you can keep a person a temp before they become an employee?
Yes, there has been a change to that.
Okay, and hasn't the law also changed as to training and obligatory obligations on behalf of the staffing company and the client? Like, before, the staffing company was required to provide training and labor law compliance and OSHA compliance and training. Hasn't that changed now that the client is not responsible for training of temporary employees?
As joint employers, yes.
Okay, and then how are we verifying that compliance is being done?
You mean by the staffing company?
The joint, by us and by the staffing.
I don't know how that's being.
Because I know the law significantly changed.
Yes.
Correct. So, Ty reviews any of the agreements that we execute with any of our contract vendors.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the contract.
Erica oversees all of the safety and the workers' comp
training
and implementation in our environment. So when Ty says joint, the vendor has their responsibilities and CAT has ours. The safety piece and the workers' comp piece is in the Director of Safety's department.
Right,
And
but
the other managers have the same oversight responsibilities that they have for permanent full-time employees for oversight.
yes, but there are new compliance rules.
Correct.
So-
They're in they would be addressed in the agreement, the split.
And how are we maintaining those records?
I don't maintain the record.
Oh, I know you don't, but there, I mean, all of that's, I just want to know that,
We're covered.
Definitely that.
yeah, I want to know that we're covered, but shouldn't the HR person be answering that?
I'm right here. We do give them training. I'm Condra Scott.
I know who you are, but.
All right, I
They
just
still
look
gotta
like
be able to give answers, though.
But anyway, yes,
I
we
didn't
do.
see her
Once they
there,
come
honestly.
into,
She's behind
once
me.
our temporary employees
Wow.
come into the area that they're being assigned to work, they get full training from.
And you have training logs that you keep.
Yes, we do have laws, and we do have, each of them do get proper training. We don't just say, go do the job, we do train them. And some of them, and if they feel that they're not ready, then we do give them additional training.
And so they sign off once they've been trained, that they feel competent with the position, with what they've been asked to do?
We haven't, they're not signing off saying that they feel comfortable, but we are having that conversation with them. And, you know, and we don't let them go on until they verbally tell us.
But
we
doesn't
can put that.
but doesn't the new law require that they sign off?
And that's on the new law. We haven't had anyone yet, but now we are and prepared to do that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, and then what is the time frame now that they can remain? Like, I don't have a problem with the employees in the cash house because those rotate so often. You probably don't keep anybody in there longer than 90 or 120 days. But in other positions, the law changed on the limited number of days that a person can be a temp without transitioning over. You either have to let that person go or transition them to an employee. What's that number now?
I'm not sure exactly what that number is.
Because it's a limited number of days.
Yeah,
Well, not
since they changed it over.
Right.
Because like you said, it was unlimited. Now we do need to have them a certain amount of time, but we
Right.
will make sure that
and it would only probably come into play with mechanics, with drivers, people who.
So we
don't say for that.
Those are union positions. So these are all
Yes, like in the
non-union.
call center.
Okay.
You know, receptionist area, those other areas that we are now using them the most in the cash.
So we're not going to hire temporary labor outside of a contracted vendor. The
I
rule
understand that.
attaches when you're hiring a person directly, temp to permanent. The contract labor
No, they changed the rule. If they didn't, I'd like to. I mean, I
have
must
to
have read
research
it. I
that,
must have
but
read it wrong.
I'd have to research that, but my understanding is that if you're hiring someone directly as a temp, then you have to transition them at some point to a permanent employee, a full employee. But if you're hiring from a staffing company, that you don't have to transition. You don't have to transition those people.
No, I think that's what changed.
I
think that's the law that changed.
Doesn't that new rule says that if they work 30 hours a week, they're considered
That's a different rule.
Yeah, that's a different.
That's a different rule. No, they made there was a lawsuit, and they made a change because it had to do with manufacturing and people hiring temps and leaving them as temps for 10 years and 6 years in staffing positions. And so they changed the staffing, and because I closed my staffing agency in 2015, so I think it changed like January 2016. I don't remember what it is because I don't have a staffing agency anymore. So I know that something changed. I'd like to make sure that we are compliant with whatever that change is.
I can research that.
Okay.
Can we table this until we get?
No, I mean it doesn't apply to having a contract. No, it really doesn't apply to the contract. I mean, I think the contract is an excellent idea. I think having that contract is an excellent idea, but I want to make sure that we're complying with the new rules. I'm not opposed to the contract. I don't think we should table it. I'm not trying to table it. I'm just saying that
No, I understand.
there's new compliance issues.
And you're familiar with it because you've done this.
And we've had several of our employees that came to become permanent quite, within 90 days or so, just depending on if we have that position open, they get the option to apply for that position.
Right.
And we would interview them, and we have hired several temporary people that are working now in the call center that came from a temporary agency.
Okay.
I think Clinton, you had another question.
This has been a weird diversion from a fairly simple topic. That's what we hire these folks for, is so that we can trust.
How's it a diversion?
Just a minute. So we hire capable and amazing staff so they can assure us that these aren't happening. I don't think we need to be micromanaging CAT at this level.
I think you're confused as to what
Just a minute,
micromanagement is.
I'm not interested in having a conversation. I just want to get through this.
Well, I'm trying to get through it, and I should be able to ask questions that I want to ask so that I'm certain. And while you're positive and certain and wonderfully competent people, that's great. I have a question. I get to ask that question. And my question was directly related to the topic at hand, and it was not a diversion. And I don't appreciate you jumping in and telling me that I'm diverting the conversation, because I did not.
Great. So I think we should trust the staff that we have to make the decisions they need to make.
Then I think
they
you should do that.
amazing- I agree.
Mr. Chairman, do you have a motion second?
I have a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to vote on it and get it passed. I think it's a great idea. I think it gives CAT the flexibility to hire the folks we need when we need them temporarily. It didn't need to be this long of a discussion.
And again, that's your personal opinion as to
It
what
is.
needs to be a
As is
discussion.
yours, as we all have liberty to have, so it's great.
Oh, well, let's just flutter on to the next topic.
What you got in your coffee?
You just made it hard, man.
Cream?
That's what you just made it
You
hard.
need to put some sugar.
Because I don't recall anybody asking to stop the conversation.
I have not stopped it.
Okay, which is not your point
Thank you.
or
for
your
clarifying
job to do.
My point.
Someone can call the motion. Which
I
I'm
called the
gonna-
motion.
Which I was just going to do if you didn't.
Thank you.
Motion and second is there. We need a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. 4. Opposed? We've got 3.
Hey, Pete, you gonna vote today?
Anybody abstain?
Pete, you abstaining? No, I mean, he gotta say yes, no, or abstain. He has to, Chester, we have to follow the rules. Everything's being recorded, has to.
You voted.
No, he did not.
Pete, did you vote?
He's all right.
He abstained.
He did not, so y'all know this is videotaped. He did not abstain, he did not vote yes, he did not vote no. I'm not gonna let that happen, no. Yes,
I'm
no, abstain.
asking him if he voted.
Thank you.
Pete, did you vote on the temporary staffing motion?
Yes.
So he's saying yes.
So he's.
Yes, no, abstain.
Yes.
Cool.
He voted. He voted yes.
So it's 5-3.
Cool.
Keep going.
Oh no, we won't play by the rules.
On to executive director's report. Mike, you're up again. You have another one after that?
First, I just wanted to state that I'll be doing board updates. We'll be starting on Monday. I just wanted to let you know I'll be doing that. The rest of the executive director's report is in your board packet. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Are you talking about board updates through the emails?
Yes.
You'll start those on Mondays?
I'll start those on Monday. And it'll be bi-monthly.
That means every 2 weeks, not every 2 months.
Right, every 2 weeks.
I hate those words. They confuse more people. It's like next week and the week after.
It'll be every 2 weeks.
Thank you. There you go. So you're going to have 26 reports.
Any questions on the executive director's report?
Any questions? No.
A lot of bites.
No votes needed. All right, service delivery. We're back to you, Mike.
As I point out, almost every board meeting we had an outstanding year as far as preventable accidents. Although we started off rough with customer complaints, especially in the para, it actually reduced as the year went on, which is proof of the improvement of the service. Also like to point out that there are numbers for open claims on the board report, bodily injury and property damage, and also workers' comp open claims are on the board report as well. I'll answer any other questions you may have.
Question? Hearing none, let's move to system development. Patricia.
Good morning. Just wanted to mention that last Wednesday we did host our CAT Mobility community meeting here in this room. We sent out a robocall to the paratransit customers. We had nearly 30 people who attended. The discussion was very good. We heard both compliments and concerns about the program, but it was one of the better meetings that I've attended since I've been here. And so we restructured the format. We had an agenda for the CAT Mobility meeting. As I said, we requested the supervisor of the program to send out a robocall to customers, and so we had good attendance, good feedback. And we had information in your board packets, but I want to highlight that we did meet the deadline for that bus and bus facilities grant application, so that was submitted on time. And hopefully we'll know something before the annual meeting in October.
Bill,
I'm not sure if this is which part of the report Mike's or Patricia's that this belongs to, but the NOLO grant that we were doing for the additional electric buses, where is that in the process?
We successfully submitted an application for that too. We have not heard for this year.
Decision.
Yeah.
Clinton.
From all the other
I saw your
mobility
hand over there.
From all the other mobility meetings I've been to, it sounds like 30 was much more than we've had before. Do you blame that on the robocall?
I think that robocall helped, and then to remember, you all reviewed our governance calendar last month for the rest of the year. So we're planning to rotate, and basically this meeting, the topic was just CAT mobility. Mm-hmm. And then so the upcoming meeting, the next one will be basically on fixed route. And but the dialogue was really good. Bridget Morrison, the supervisor of our call center, she's doing community meetings, outreach meetings at various agencies to kind of do some reminders about reminding customers that it is a shared ride. The temperatures are much warmer this time of the year, so be prepared, take your extra water and, dress, appropriately for the weather and all of that. So she had an agenda. And, of course, there were some customers who just wanted to, jump right in and let us know what their concerns or their complaints about the program. We took those, but basically we did our best to stick to that agenda. And then the latter part of the meeting was for, general comments. But like I said, we got some compliments about the program, people thanking us for the services that we provide. And then, of course, we got complaints, too, about, my trip was late, the van was late picking me up, and all we can do is explain and continue to work on, continuous improvements. So I thought it was a good meeting, a good dialogue. And then what I noted, too, is just some of the ladies who attended, they really came out for like a social gathering. They got the notice about, the robocall or the flyer, and they just decided to book the trip, to come out and enjoy the conversation. So that was good to see as well.
And then also under marketing communications, it looks like we're working on a variety of different public-facing flyers, publications, brochures. So that just seems interesting. I think some of those do look a little bit dated, so it'll be nice to get them a little bit less dated. Thank you.
That is correct. We are working on some general information materials for customers.
Thank you.
Staff's doing a good job with them as well.
Yes, Bill.
Yeah, I've got two separate questions. One is in terms of the paratransit stuff, where are we in trying to encourage paratransit riders to use fixed traffic? What we were going to be doing with that? Where are we?
It's my understanding training is still going on with the Cat Mobility staff. The communications and marketing folks, we're working on some publications and other customer materials to get them ready to launch that program. For example, we've just completed a general information brochure, about travel training, and that's just about ready to go to the printer. They've asked for our help as well in creating large blow-ups of buses and bus stop signs so that when they do their assessments, when they make the training room ready, they'll need materials in it like that, large stop signs, pictures of buses, and so we are working on those materials as well.
Do we have any kind of projected time for rolling that program out as a public initiative?
Like, I'm thinking before the end of the calendar year is what I've heard. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, before that, probably, I think would be around September, we should be able to.
Well, and I'm not trying to pin you down on that.
Yeah.
I know the training is going to be critical before we don't
Right.
want to start it when we're
Right.
not ready.
Right.
Right.
I just want us to keep moving in that direction.
Absolutely, and they are continuing to move in that direction. But yes, there have been internal discussions that we didn't want to bring the program to you all to vote on it until we're ready to launch. And so we are getting ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be worse if we go out prematurely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We'll set the whole thing back. The other question is Thunderbolt. Where are we? Because I got an email from John Hall, who represents not Thunderbolt. He used to be on Thunderbolt City Council, but he's has people in the Thunderbolt area that are asking him about the changes. So what is our circumstances with the?
Okay, well, there has been lots of discussions at board meetings here and at our committee meetings. And
Where are we on closing down those stops?
The decision was made that we probably will not remove the stops until SSU returns, because we want to do some customer survey work with students. We don't want to remove the stops tomorrow and then have university students returning not being aware of it. Although our staff have been communicating with middle managers at SSU, but we want to wait till the semester starts again so that we can do some things with students at some of those stops. We're talking about 12 stops. Right now there's generic information at those bus stops that basically says in the coming months the stops will be removed. We do not have a definite date on those stops any longer.
And I think we're going to need to establish that, and I'm not objecting to waiting until we can have some conversations with Savannah State and that community generally, but I'm just concerned. We've known, as long as we didn't know about this, we didn't have a liability providing service that we weren't supposed to be providing. At this point, we've known about this for at least 6 months, and we can't just keep putting this off.
Right.
We're going to have to pull the trigger on this at some point, so we need to set a time to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me ask you a question.
I'm going to let Patricia answer.
So staff is ready to take the stops down. The board
Well,
last month wanted the signs.
And that's
to
fine.
stay.
By saying we need to set a timeline, that's really a board function. But I don't think we can just keep waiting on this. We keep finding reasons why we can't do it today. But at some point, we should have never been doing it. And now that we know that we're doing something we're not supposed to be doing, we're going to create some. I don't know what the legal ramifications of that might be, but
that would be for executive session.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We can hold that then.
Yeah, we had a date, and then after discussion, we made some changes to the notice on the signs. And so right now, it's saying coming soon, these stops will be removed in the coming months. We did also, Bill, I did reach out several months ago with City Hall there to alert the mayor of our plans. And so we are having that discussion as well. And I sent her also an Excel sheet of the locations of those bus stops, signs, or the bus stops.
Thank you.
Jay and then Chester.
All right. I too have somebody who represents that area. His name is Bobby Lockett. And I also spoke to 14 people in that area about the bus situation. When I spoke to them, all of them said that Thunderbolt, and I'm on record for saying what I'm saying, Thunderbolt did nothing to reach out to the citizens in that area. And I explained to them that it was a tax issue. It was an issue because they had not been paying into the tax as far as routes are concerned in that area. That's the reason why the things were being pulled down. They all told me, they said that they heard nothing about it as citizens. Heard nothing about it from Thunderbolt. Now, I did ask those citizens, I was actually out of town when this happened, when I started getting these questions. And so I did ask them the email, and I have not had a chance to check my email. But they said they were going to compile emails, and I told them put their name, information and everything like that, where they lived at and everything like that, so I can bring it to us so we can address it with Thunderbolt. Because it's a miscommunication between Thunderbolt and its citizens as well. And that's not my job to go out there and do that. But because she called me, I played the latitude game, and I did what I had to do as far as justice is concerned. Now, I agree with you. This is going on far too long. However, if we did a full Title VI analysis, even though it doesn't qualify in some cases for Title VI analysis, we would be having this discussion. We would have did that from Jump Street. Because then we could have voted on this 4 or 5 months ago, and then we'll be having this discussion now. So I do want to make sure I heed the caution. I appreciate updating the signs, because they did tell me they saw the update on the signs and everything like that. But this was a 96-year-old woman and an 83-year-old woman. They live in those houses. They've lived in that community all their life. And they rode transit all their life. They don't have cars. So when we take these signs down, we got to look at the least of them as well as those who can't afford to get on transit. So once I get that information, I will pass that on to whoever I need to pass it on to. I'll pass it to Beverly. Beverly can pass it on to whoever in Chatham area transit. We need to pass it on. But for some reason, these people are saying that Thunderbolt doesn't know. They aren't talking to the people.
Yeah, the mayor didn't seem all that concerned about the issue when we approached.
And I'm not into getting into lower level government. That ain't my job. But my job is, if I got 2 people who've been riding transit all their life, and now they're taking the opportunity, and now they got to walk all the way up to wherever the nearest route is. I don't feel that's fair and just. And I'm always going to stick up for those people who don't have that voice.
Have they contacted the mayor of Thunderbolt?
I did tell her. I said, have you contacted? She said no. They give them the runaround. I said, well, can you contact me, and I'll play big brother, whatever case may be, to make sure transit contacts them on behalf of that letter. And they said that they didn't have an issue as far as the tax is concerned. And I made sure I made it clear with them that this would be a tax situation where we would have to start taxing that district area. And yeah, you may not have a problem with the tax, but your neighbor may have a problem with the tax.
And the council has to approve it.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that those people had that conversation at the table.
No problem. Technically, I'm not sure that's true.
Which part?
The council has to approve it. That's a whole other issue.
It got to be approved by somebody. We got to figure out.
That's a whole other conversation about whether or not the municipalities have to approve the tax.
No. Since, well, we know they don't want to, but.
Well, is that a true statement though?
No.
That's not that we don't know if they want to or not.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I'm talking about council.
But they would have to start the taxing because you've already voted to go countywide. So
I agree with you on that.
Would have to apply to the tax, make it a tax district.
Correct.
Right?
And we ain't talking about a lot of money on those houses.
Well, it isn't the money necessarily.
Yeah, I think it's the
facade.
the facade of being taxed.
Yeah, no one likes taxes. I don't know anybody who does. It's like counting money.
I see from that point. I appreciate it, sir.
Chester, I know you were waiting.
Oh, no problem. I just want to find out about the meeting you all had with the Georgia Chamber and the Georgia Transportation Lines. Fruitful meeting, unfruitful meeting, what?
Basically, it was kind of a get acquainted meeting with the state chamber at the very beginning of June, and we of course talked about the transit district and the legislation that failed. They wanted to know how they could help CAT move us forward. So they were going to put together some ideas and get back with us. And to my knowledge, we haven't heard back.
You haven't gotten that back yet?
No, sir.
But I'll contact them.
Yeah.
I got that. I have the contact information.
Yeah, because I know that there is some recommendations and things ready for you. I don't know why it hadn't gotten here yet. I don't know why they haven't communicated.
Yeah, okay.
But the folks I communicated, in fact, I just left them yesterday.
Cool.
Okay, when I talked to them on yesterday. There's some
They
stuff
were
that's-
looking for stakeholders to pay for the services, is what they were asking us to do. Find people.
I don't think that's not what I got yesterday. So, I mean, you may
I'll
know
contact
you may know more than I know.
And I think
But I know what I
That's
have.
not what I got either, but I'm
And I think they were also talking with Curtis at first. I don't know if Mike was involved, but that was the contact guy initially. So we got to make new contact and get new introduction.
All of us were at the meeting.
Well, we're working on it.
You were there?
No,
I didn't. None of that was there.
Executive meeting.
You
Mike
were
was
there.
there.
You
I
were
was
there.
there and Gary was there.
And we were supposed to meet with our chamber tomorrow, but they had to cancel.
Oh, okay. Well, I just know that there's some help on that end.
I hope
Great.
so.
Because they know now, I guess they see now that, we all know for the last 2 years, all the transportation money has stayed up around the Atlanta area.
Yes.
Now they seeing, and especially coming from some of the rural areas where they'll have to get up off some of that money. So I just want to make sure we having productive conversations at the table. All right, because I met with them yesterday. In fact, we had breakfast and talked about that while we were in Nevada yesterday. So there is.
That's right. You guys were up here yesterday.
Yeah, well, see, when we go, we don't just go to talk about, we go to talk about stuff that's going to help the county, county-wide. And transportation is a hot issue.
Yes, it is.
Especially on NAPCO area, ACCG level, on the state level, and plain blankly, I said to them, you guys in Atlanta and surrounding there have to stop hogging up all the transportation money, because that's what y'all have done,
For years.
And so they agree, because they want us to be partners with them when this broadband thing comes flowing. See, so if you're gonna give me tit, I don't mind giving you tat. You need to have a conversation. You need to get in touch with them and have a conversation about how they can be of asset to you. Because there's some things I know that I was shown and I was given, and I'm not privy to give it out because I wasn't given that permission. Right, where if we do some things, then some things can open up and flow our way.
Okay.
Right.
I like that.
I'll definitely be in contact.
There's just so many groups that are involved. You need 100 people to keep.
Well,
track of all
anytime you have stuff that's coming from federal, who's putting the state in charge, and the majority of the state folks want the stuff to stay in northern Georgia.
Yeah.
We had a good conversation with FTA. I had a great conversation.
We're the other part of Georgia.
Yeah. Well, they call us the state of Chatham.
I just saw today that Liberty's got a system they're starting.
Yeah, we talked about that too.
Yeah, it's a nice looking for what they need out there for now.
Well,
they want to go countywide too.
And the thing is that we have to keep our eyes on the spaceport that's coming up down in Camden County, because that may play a part in some stuff we do in transportation-wise here. And if we don't get it on the ground floor, it's going to hardly be coming up on the third floor.
Well,
you don't know whether you got to
we
take the
usually
steps
get
or the
told when it's
escalator.
on the second floor.
Yeah, well, you know it's coming. And I'm saying you need to have productive conversations.
And it's good that
with
other
them
people
now.
are bringing that stuff to
All
us.
right. Have that conversation with them now.
Yeah, that is in the works, along with the local, because we've been somewhat disconnected from them for a while now. All right. Do you have anything else for Patricia? I'm sorry, I forgot where I was. I was in Nevada for a while.
You're fine.
All right, financial update, Terry.
Good morning. The financial update is in your package. We are 2 weeks into our annual close. and our bottom line is holding. So the trend is good to end the year better than budget. We are also working on getting our books closed and getting auditors in quickly so we can meet the county deadline for incorporation. And our close lasts about 3 to 6 weeks. So with the 2-week close for this meeting, these numbers are tentative, and we will update you on the year-to-date numbers at the August meeting when the annual close is completed. So I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Any major concerns money-wise?
No, the 2 large potential adjustments are for transit tax receivable and for post-employment benefits. Those are annual assessments and analysis, and they could always swing the numbers. But we'll see when the numbers come in from the tax commissioner and from our actuary.
So how much in our reserves now?
We have right now $835,000 allocated as of last year in an operating reserve, and we have the potential to add between $250,000 and $1 million depending on how the cash falls over the next 30 days this year.
Cool. And that gives us how much leeway?
$1.8 million, so a little bit more than a month.
A little more than a month. So, and the FDA would like 3.
Yeah.
Standard governmental trends are for a 3-month reserve.
3. That's why I asked how close are we to that.
So we've got about 15 days in the bank right now. Hopefully this year we'll be able to add substantially to that and approach a 30-day reserve with the end of this fiscal year. So much progress.
We're getting there.
Yep.
Take some time.
From 0 to 30 days in 2 years.
We actually went from negative to plus.
Well, yeah.
So that's good news, I guess. I'd love to be at 3 months, but
one step at a time.
Every little bit we get there is better. Any other questions for Terry?
All right, where are we?
Whole business. We just need to know whether or not we want to hold or reopen the vote for vice chair.
Stay on the table.
Is that in the...
Technically, it is old business. Technically, it's not on the table anymore because under Robert's rules, it has to have been something that was taken up at the last meeting and not completed at the last meeting. So actually, whenever you decide to proceed with an election of a vice chairman, it would be something new. It won't be taking up something on the table. That motion is dead now.
So we can't make a motion for a vice chair now?
Yes, you can. You can make a motion, but it's not a matter. It's not a matter of taking something that's already on the table, taking it off the table. The one that was on the table has died. This will be a new motion.
So we can make the motion to move forward on that.
Yes.
It could be brought up as a motion today if we want to
it's a
have
new
the
motion.
election.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion, and I'd like to nominate Jay Jones as vice chairperson.
Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Any discussion? No question?
Well, I guess just a question.
That's my next
question. Is at one point we had talked about waiting until we had the new board seated.
That was the original reason for tabling the first motion.
Right, and we still don't have the new appointment. I don't know that
Just to clarify, yes, that technically we have several, and Beverly would have to look at our matrix.
Mm-hmm.
But technically we have several board members whose term has expired as of June the 30th, but they continue to serve until their replacements their successors have been appointed.
And this is a sunshine board, which we have a sunset board, whatever they're called, which means Howard actually is technically still on this board until
Yes,
he's
he
replaced.
is. He is. That's correct.
And also the 3 commissioners who are also part of that conversation you say, we are also board members until we're replaced as well.
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm not objecting moving forward. I'm just saying that the original conversation was we were going to wait for the new board to be seated.
Yes, and then we were going to seek the Howard's replacement, and then we had several people who submitted resumes after the time frame
And that's not on me, because I can tell you right now, I was the one arguing the fact that we
We
need to
had
move forward. with
several
Chatham
board
Avenue.
meetings who started submitting resumes haphazardly and randomly. So now,
Commission's not operating by the rules.
I'm
yeah, I
just-
guess so right
I
now.
know that the three of y'all were there, but I was watching the commission meeting from last Friday, and at the end of the meeting, Chairman Scott said that because of the absence of a couple of commissioners, they were going to defer appointments until your next
Yeah, but
meeting.
they were absent because they submitted their resumes late, because they could have stayed at the meeting because,
Well, I didn't
yeah,
see all that.
I mean, they could have attended the meeting because these people went to NACO as well, and they were there. They just chose to go early.
Okay.
They
Well,
also chose to submit resumes late.
my only point in mentioning that was that, at least from what I heard Chairman Scott say, the appointments were going to be deferred until your next meeting.
And we also stated that it was going to be deferred until July. This is, I'm talking about Chatham Area Transit. In May, you review the tape, it said July.
Yeah.
Now, we were thinking, and the reason why we said July, because we were thinking we would have had appointment in July. We specifically said a month. I didn't say it, but someone in this room specifically said a month.
So,
Yeah,
what
we
Mr.
picked July
Durst has
because
said,
we would have had
the
that
logic
number.
would still apply.
Yeah, I'm just asking the question. I don't, frankly, I think any new member is going to be not up to speed to the point of
voting anyway,
of making a knowledgeable vote anyway. So I don't care one way or the other. I was just bringing up the fact that we did make that point.
And that point was for July.
And it is July. That's why I had it under old business.
And,
That's what I read.
Just to
But
add
that's
one,
okay.
add one more layer to this. If you were to vote today, after the new appointments are made to the board or the continuing appointments, there's nothing to prevent this board from
Having
voting
a
in
vote.
the election.
Correct.
I say we move forward.
Yeah.
Do we have any other nominations before we vote? Seeing no other nominations, we'll take a vote on Jay Jones for vice chair. All those in favor, raise your hands. It's unanimous. Welcome.
Shouldn't he recuse himself?
I don't know if you can vote for yourself.
I'm going to leave. You can take over.
We just kind of.
We're down to the business.
We
We're down
adjourn.
to the
We just kind
Next week I won't be here, by the way.
I got you.
There's nothing next week, so don't worry.
Because we don't have no meetings next week.
That's why I'm going away. We're in after that. That's all right.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
What are you presenting today?
Are you presenting?
All I want to do is just recap. I was in Vegas. I did see the thing was
And what's
fixed.
in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Clark County. I meant to say that. I did see the ADA was fixed and repaired. I did
Yes,
see
sir.
that was removed, whatever case may be. The mall unit is still in place.
Yeah, it's new.
It is moved. I'm sure I was there today. I was there today.
The TVM's in my shop.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I was
I took
there
it out
today.
yesterday
Now, I
myself.
didn't get off the bus to look, but I
Yeah,
did
it's
see the
cold.
thing hanging. Saturday, I was at the bus stop and I saw it. So
Yeah.
it must have happened after Saturday. I'm not sorry, Saturday. Friday or Thursday.
Yeah, we took it out Sunday and
Okay.
finished up yesterday.
Cool. I see the TVs are still over there too.
There is a plan to put covers over
I'm
them.
just all I'm doing is going through my punch list in my head.
Gotcha. You don't have your printout either.
No, I do have a friend. I don't go nowhere without it.
An opaque cover would be a great new graffiti sign.
Well,
I'm
they
supportive
could
of that.
write on the screens. It just was going to look so messy with those just pulled out. And all sorts of
A green cover.
wires hanging.
I think we need
Gotta
to
be cat green though.
Yeah,
So
I think
it's
we
probably
need to
gonna
be.
cost 3 times as much. but-
Yeah, I think we need to be
We might get
consistent.
another award.
Listen to all these marketing people over there. That great.
There you go. I have it somewhere too. I don't know if it's with
Let me
me.
hang
I
it
have
right
3
here.
briefcases.
That was the main thing. I did see this hanging over because I rode the bus today. To here. I think we need to.
You got the right bench to sit on to pick it up?
Nah,
there?
that's what he was saying.
I think I have to have an explanation of what I asked for earlier. Why we removed that bus stop? Because I know Windsor Forest students use that bus
Let's
stop.
ask Wim while we're at it, apparently. 'cause-
Or when? Yeah, I agree with that too.
Oh, you mean the shelter?
The shelter.
I have no, like I said, I've never seen one there.
Yeah, we can look into it.
I need to know why it was removed, because it's a construction sign sitting there.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
the
it's
other
an
thing
Evercore.
is, in front of Mitchell's, there's a tree that's kind of grown obtuse. And I think we need to get in contact with whoever the property owner is, and we probably get the city to see if we can get that thing cut down.
They still got their signs up and stuff.
Well,
so
I don't care about the
business.
sign as much as the tree, because the tree prevents that bus from seeing. And I gotta look out for the bus drivers. That tree it
We got a few trees
you being
like
able
that.
to see.
So that-
You're gonna ask the city to cut down a tree?
No, I'm not asking the city to cut down a tree, but it's on the easement side. So I think it's on the easement side. It's 5 foot.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I know the corner. I go by it every day, just about.
Y'all have because it's in the city. If it was in the county, I would ask my people to look into it. Because it's in the city, I think the city
It might
needs
be
to-
easier to move the stop.
It might be. But
I'm sort of kidding, but by the same token, if moving the stop back 3 or 4 feet means not having to deal with.
Well, it's on the other side of the entrance to Arby's. You can put a stop there, and it will give you probably another 100
Give
feet.
you the tree.
So I mean, I
range
think
that way.
before we just cut down the tree, let's look at an alternative.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how we need to do? I just understand that tree, because it prevents me as a rider from looking down to see if the bus is coming as well.
Yeah, you see it very late.
And then the CAT app is the other thing, because I tried to use the CAT app today.
It's terrible.
I tried to use the CAT app today, and it's beyond. And it asks you an option of thing or bus. And when I put the bus number in, it says error, and so I couldn't know when the bus comes or doesn't come. So I need that CAT app looked into, and even Google. I think Google has the older maps or something. So we need to get in contact with Google, see how that whole thing works, because Google's using the older maps. So.
We have to get the new passenger counter system.
The ABC?
I would say we
Here we go
don't
with the
try to fix
alphabet
the
soup.
app.
Well, I was against
app is tied into Indra, guys.
I
It's
was-
their app.
I was against the app from jump, but I'm not going into that conversation today.
So it's the app through Indra.
Yeah, but if we're going to promote an app, we need to have an app that actually
What
works.
apps?
Yes.
So I do know that we have an RFP out for that technology. In the report, it says that there would be presentations for that coming up in August.
Those are evaluation committee presentations.
Okay. Well, if there's that's helpful to know. If there are any interesting presentations with graphics and visuals, it might be helpful for us as a board.
Yeah, because I'm on the visual
So,
type person.
with the evaluation of the RFP, that wouldn't be appropriate.
Okay.
But
Have to worry
once
about
the
that.
evaluation process is complete, we can surely ask the recommended and/or selected vendor to present to the board.
I think, yeah, that would
You're
be.
doing the committee evaluations in August. Does that mean we can have this for approval at the September board meeting?
No, sir. It will probably be October or November.
Yeah, that sounds about reasonable.
It's like
Before.
60, 90-day process. With all
That's a
of this.
very exciting thing.
And go backwards. I know I should have asked this earlier. Those bus stops, or the shelters. What is the process of identifying those areas that we would be putting shelters at first?
So we look at APC data for high boarding and determine if there's enough boarding at a stop that would warrant a shelter. So we're focusing on, the Route 14, Route 17, Route 29, 27, 28.
But 3 as well.
Yeah, we'll look at high boardings.
And prior to the planning guy leaving, I'm not going to put his name out there in TV land. He had told me, and I forget what month he had told me, he was going to give me a small sample set of what the APC data was supposed to look like. Now, I never got that. That's going on maybe 7-8 months ago. I never got that because riding the bus, I do see issues with APC as far as the bus tells you to come on the front and get off on the back. But I have watched where a lot of riders will get off the front. And so I'm trying to understand. I'm hoping that the APC counter doesn't count you here and then count you here, because if it does and you're going this way, then we got incorruptible data somewhere down the line.
Whether you get off the front or the back, it still counts. Correct.
So it's not catching you count here and offset count here.
No.
Counting
It's
the
the
ends
motion.
only?
So it's only count direction and motion?
Yes.
And it makes
Like
adjustment
that.
for whether you're the driver and whether you sit or whether, I mean, it's pretty impressive.
So this month right here, I'm concentrating on scheduling. I'm gonna tell you that now. My thing is going to be on scheduling and making sure the scheduling is synced between what we see on internet, what we see on Google, what we see on all the different apparatuses as far as that's concerned. Because I was told today when I went in the schedule that the bus was supposed to be there at 9:24. The bus didn't come till 9:38, which puts me 14 minutes late in my mentality. Because if I would have known it was going to be at that time, I would have took the bus 20 minutes early.
Yeah.
We did upload information to Google Transit before the system changes that went into effect.
Mm-hmm.
We can definitely check on that.
Now, Google's the one that provided the 9:24 time period.
Right. I mean, we did prepare the files for uploading.
The time they actually picked me up was 9:38. So it actually throws my whole schedule off because now, because it said 59 minutes, I knew I was going to be 10 minutes late, but I ended up being 23 minutes late. And I'm just, if I'm late to work, I can only feel how other people who actually, are paid to work, how they feel being late to work. And so that's something I really want us to have a real huge discussion as far as making sure those times, as far as pickup times are concerned and drop-off times are concerned, are congruent with what we actually trying to put out there to our people.
And when we get rid of the dreaded INDRA system, I think a lot.
And I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. But
We're
even
getting
with
there.
injured, we
We
got to
all
make
know
sure
we want it out of here.
get people to work.
Or even
That's all I
system,
have.
or even system redesign, the Let's Go. You know, we still have to make some decisions about that project because that will give us an opportunity to get back into our routes and fix some things.
Well, as far as Let's Go is concerned, I still would like to see at least 4 or 5 temporal routes that we don't currently do, that we would be able to invest in if we could find money to do it, of course. But I would like to see those temporal routes. We got to stop saying it's about money and we ain't got the money. We still need to look at ridership. Where can we capture more
ridership? We want
ridership?
the 114 back.
We capture ridership from
I don't care about if it's 114 or not. I just want to make sure what we do is ridership.
Internally, staff was talking about just this, Commissioner Jones, about how there are some minor tweaks up to and including when a bus leaves or when they get somewhere or recovery time that we kind of postponed adding into the schedule, waiting on the system redesign. So, I mean, staff can surely go back and ask the planners to look at those kind of changes outside of the system redesign if the current discussion to kind of put that on pause and hold is going to carry. Because we knew this was coming, we were going to do it all at one time, but if it's not coming as planned, then we could go back and try to tweak some things that would correct some of the scheduling issues.
Because what I see where we have bus stops, but you have 3 different buses going to that bus stop. So my question is, can we layer them at a different angle where we understand this one comes here, can we put it here, and are we if the APC is tracking enough to see that this person is picked up here and then dropped off here? What kind of balance do we have out there? Because I know MLK is a heavily used route for a couple of buses. Abercorn, at certain points, we have continuing points that actually can pick up and put. Yeah, so I mean, I think some latitude where there are some bus routes that we actually have, we can change some directions as far as that and get some additional ridership in other areas.
Yeah.
But I don't hear us talking about that.
But that's all part of the redesign.
That is the
thing.
Let's Go.
Yeah,
that's what the Let's Go was
Yeah,
supposed to
but
do.
no one has presented an alternative route. I just asked about alternative routes. What I'm seeing is we're trying to increase frequency downtown, which speeds up the number of times people come pick, and then we're decreasing from outlier errors on the ridership. On the coverage ship, it's not much different from what we already got. That's what's being presented.
The coverage one does hugely, I think, address some of the concerns you've got with timing. The coverage one would still be a huge step forward for on-time performance and for pulsing. I think honestly, either of those we should just dig in as much as possible to the Let's Go campaign because there's some really good stuff coming out of there.
And the trade-off between the coverage and the ridership is what Michelle and her team needs to move forward. So if the board makes that choice, then they push the button and outflows the schedule that could very well incorporate the route you're talking about. But until the board gives her that direction, that percent split, we're kind of on pause.
Right, and several of you should have an email from Michelle. I had a conversation.
She emailed me today. She emailed yesterday.
Yeah, I had a conversation with her this week, and she still wants to, talk to those of you where she hasn't had one-on-one conversations about what you're thinking, about those two concepts. And so she's on vacation this week and next week, but she's hoping to schedule those meetings with you all, those conference calls with you all in August, so that she can get your specific thoughts about, another route over here or another route over here, so that when new board members are appointed and we schedule our next board workshop and you all come together, we'll have more information for you and be able to answer more of your questions so that you all can make a decision on next steps.
And hopefully some pictures of routes with the different percentages so we can really get down in and look at it. But she needs that, and we'll get it to her. Bill?
Just a reminder, based on something Jay said, I'm all for increasing ridership, but keep in mind that an increase in ridership will not make a significant difference in revenue.
I agree with that. I have no issue with that.
So increasing ridership is not going to give us the additional money we need to do some of the things that.
But additional. But I just want to make sure we're not missing on capacity that we can put into our ridership.
Right.
It's not about dollars and cents to me as far as that piece is concerned, because most of it's underwritten by us anyway, and we've been talking and flirting with the conversation of going the fare free. You understand? We've already been flirting with that conversation of fare free anyway, so it wouldn't matter in that case.
Yeah.
We'd love that.
But I'm not for right now what's being presented to me. I'm not for one of them over the other, because I gotta make sure that people in my district see a bus in their area, other than that, the little bus that we see all over the place.
And I don't think either one of those options were supposed to be presentations. They're either end at the extreme, and she needs a split to create this system for your review and for your citizens' review.
Yeah, but how do we feed her the information of where we need to put new
Call
routes?
her up.
That's not an issue.
That conference call will help her.
Yeah, we got to get. She doesn't know the area, so she won't know that we need a bus here or there.
Yeah, but we shared a lot of data with her on the front end.
I've given her a lot of information, but I'm still being. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm giving her a lot of information. I've given a lot of information, but I still see the same routes being presented to me.
Right, and
so until that changes, my conversation is going to stay the same.
Yeah, we still have a couple of people she needs to talk to.
Right.
Because everybody has a plan, and we can't do all 9.
And the 114 will be one of the ones
I know you're.
But
I know what you love me for.
But at the end of the day, we have the same situation, and we're going to continue to have the same situation, because you can paraphrase it, phrase it any way you want to. Doing the same thing the same way gonna get you the same results. So when you expect different results, you're insane. All right. And when folks don't know, they don't live here, they don't deal with the people who ride the bus, even on this board. If you don't deal with those folks who ride the bus, you don't know their issues. If those folks aren't comfortable enough to come to you and tell you what the issues are, and you don't do the James or you don't do the Chester, but you go and see for yourself, where you get on the bus where you don't make no announcement of who you are, you just get on to see what these people are calling and texting you about, and you go in the room and you make the same decision, you do the same thing, but you have not eliminated the problem. And that's one of the things that I'm saying to us as a board. Until we put ourselves in those riders' shoes, the stuff we make up in here, all the ideologies and anything else we come up with, is for naught, because it does not help the person who's getting on the bus. And I'm talking about folks who are getting on the bus in Garden City. I'm talking about the people getting on the bus in Thunderbolt. I'm talking about the folks who get on the bus downtown. I'm talking about the folks who get on the bus from the south side. You get those conversations where a commissioner comes to one of us and say, I need you to talk to Ms. So-and-so, because you're on the CAT board. and she is the Thunderbolt lady who's 90-something years old, who's still riding the bus, and you talking about snatching her bus stop away from her when she walking across the street. Now you want her to walk 3 blocks down to catch the bus.
And the crazy thing, she understood the concept. She understood one side had bus route and the other side.
Right.
She understood the concept of the division.
Just like the folks in Garden City who we talked to. Same thing applies. They understand, but then those of us who are making the decisions don't understand. And so we're the ones insane. Because we keep doing the same thing, the same way, trying to get a different result. And I don't care whether you want to call it go, stop, run, hop, jump, peak, whatever. You still doing the same thing. You wind up with the same ending to your problem.
And that's,
you
that's,
decide.
That's our responsibility is to I think it's, I think Jay, you've been doing a tremendous job of that, right? For us today, blah blah blah, is to be out there, to listen, and then to bring that into this project that we're working on. We need to be involved with that. It will not work if we're not involved with it. And I think there's been ample opportunity for all of us as board members to do so. I think we just need to continue being as involved as we can and get our opinions out there and figure out how to make the best bus system we can for Chatham County.
And we are still in progress.
Mm-hmm. As someone so eloquently said, we need to learn how to tell our story.
Any other comments?
That's what I want to do.
That's all. This is kind of beside the point, but I'd like to apologize to you two for anything I might have said earlier about not making your points heard.
Me?
Or, yes, sorry.
Under no circumstance can you offend me.
Well, I'm glad, but I'm still.
I'm 30 stages above that.
I don't think that was appropriate for me to.
He understood.
To stop you from asking questions.
He understood. He got you.
I'm on the 30th floor.
He understood. I appreciate you doing that.
Let's get on.
Why am I here?
Let's get on to executive session.
Yes, we're going to be moving. We need a motion to move into
A motion to
executive
move
session.
executive session.
Second. Let's go.
All in favor?
When is lunch?
Executive session.
Right now,
we'll get you back soon. Oh, great. Don't forget to put Howard Press in there, because he was chairman when all that was being done. So you have to give him some credit.
Super kid.
Aaron's working today. I looked at Scenic Chatham, what you told me yesterday.
I still need the sign over paper there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking at it and I said, I'll wait till Ty's got a minute to grab it.
I logged on.